Yeah, no, the dream started that I remember. It was a big, huge tornado with fire too, that it was coming closer and closer, pieces of the house coming out. And then I could see a shadow of the Virgin Mary with the baby Jesus.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God, because God is speaking to you, me, the church, the world, and here we get to listen in on the conversation. These encounter stories with angels, divine interventions, prophetic dreams, I say, today. That's part of it. Visions, near-death experiences. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Welcome. But before we get to the dream, I gotta share some science with you. Apparently, boy, I tell you, this is interesting. I'm sitting there talking to my buddy Matt before going into Mass because he sent me this video, and we're talking about the video. I'm going, I think this is part of what we're doing today on the podcast. This is just crazy science, but you have apparently what is being called a cosmology crisis. Cosmology. Is that about makeup? No, that's that. Cosmology. We're talking space. We're talking science here. Actually, what are we talking about? Hold on a second. Suri, what is cosmology?
Is a branch of physics and metaphysics dealing with the nature of the universe, the cosmos. Shall I continue?
Oh, please, yes.
The term cosmology was first used in English in 1656 in Thomas Blunt's Glossographia, and in 1731 taken up in Latin by German philosopher Christian Wolff in Cosmologia Generalis. Religious or mythological cosmology is a body of beliefs based on mythological, religious, and esoteric literature and traditions of creation myths and eschatology.
I think we all knew that. Anyway, so hey, you in the back of the class, wake up. This is not boring stuff. Stick with me on this. This is going places. This is exciting, I'm telling you. Okay. I'm your substitute teacher today, so pay attention. Was that a spitwad? Hey. Okay, now listen up. Put simply, how ridiculous would it be? How ignorant would it be? Let's just call it what it is, stupid. How stupid would it be for you and me to believe that Earth, this little blue marble, is at the center of the entire universe? Yes, the trillions and trillions of stars and hundreds of billions of galaxies and all that Earth would be sitting here motionless as the entire universe orbits around the Earth. Now, does it get any more stupid than that? And yet, there are these really brilliant people. I mean, we're not talking, flat earthers. We're talking about people of science. We're talking about cosmologists, astronomers who are growing in number, who actually believe the science is there to say, yes, we need to look at this because it all adds up and the math adds up. And guess what? Because it's like, come on. We've all known since we were little people that's just not it, that we're going around the sun. Sun's not going around us, let alone the entire universe. And yet, why would they believe such a thing? Why? And if it were true, what would that say? What would that say about who put us here? The questions really start rolling in then, right? Okay. That's our starting point today. And someone's going, I was hoping to get a story about an angel grabbing a steering wheel. Nope, we're going this way. We're going this way. Listen, no slouching in those seats. Come on, let's go. Come on, class. If you remember the old Carl Sagan series on PBS, right? Loved Carl Sagan. I mean, the way billions and billions, he was always into the billions and everything. Said, here's the reality of it, guys. We're not that special. We're just humans who have evolved, and we've evolved on this planet that is insignificant as it goes around our ho-hum sun, tucked away on some meaningless galaxy out here in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, we're not that special. We're just not special. And he was an atheist, so he's trying to, present his case in this as well as, hey guys, hey you God-loving people, God love you, but that's just not reality. All you have to do is look into space and you see reality of how special you are. So let's get to this cosmology crisis. And we've been oblivious. I've been oblivious. You've probably been oblivious to what's been going on out there, the arguments going on between the cosmologists, There was something called the Michelson-Morley experiment. Michelson-Morley, famous double play team for the Dodgers. Think you remember him? Sure. Anyway, Michelson-Morley, they were going to do this experiment because they wanted to see, here's what they wanted to see. They wanted to see how fast Earth was going through space, through the ether, as they called it back then. What was our traveling speed for Earth, Because if I were to ask Alexa right now, Alexa, how fast is Earth going through space?
The Earth orbits the Sun at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour.
Good to know, 67,000 miles per hour. So that's how fast. However, how do they come up with that? It's all relative, says Einstein. However, anytime they actually don't just use relativity, Mr. Einstein stuff, they actually try to measure how fast Earth is traveling through space. Because, in other words, there should be a breeze. We should be creating a breeze, right? So this Michelson-Morley experiment thing, measuring it from different directions and using the speed of light and all kinds of stuff. And you know how fast they found Earth to be traveling through space? And back in 1887, it's not. 0. It's not moving. It's at rest. Well, that sounded wrong, right? That's just because if that's true, then everything else is moving but Earth. And that can't be true because we all know about Copernicus and things like that. And we're going around the sun and everything's going around. And so we're moving, right? We're moving. We're making a breeze somehow. And yet this Michelson-Morley experiment says we weren't moving. In fact, every test ever on trying to figure out how fast the Earth is moving, when they actually try to just, measuring the Earth, not using anything, just measuring the 0. It's we're just sitting there like we're actually in the middle of everything. How odd. Well, we can't have people thinking that. That's what they're thinking back then. The scientists are going, no, we know that's wrong. There's no way with all these billions and billions and hundreds of billions and trillions and everything moving around, there's no way Earth is the only thing not moving. There's no way Earth is special. There's no way you and I as human beings on this planet are special. This is just some podunk little planet. This, what was it, Mr. Sagan? Yes, insignificant planet circling? Close enough. Circling a ho-hum sun in this podunk galaxy. Odd. So what Mr. Einstein did was, we have to correct this, so let's just create a science called the special theory of relativity. And he had to amend it 3 times to make sure it always worked so that we are traveling at 81,000 miles an hour or whatever it is, and we are going around the sun. And we're moving. Okay? So this is why there's a theory of relativity. This is how it all began. To make sure we're moving and not at the center. All right. Time passes. And it's a really good example there of when you're not quite sure how to make things right, you just create a new science, or theories of relativity or whatever the theory happens to be. There was a Big Bang theory created by a priest, actually, right? Okay. Theory being is that, everything is all condensed into a little speck and then for whatever reason it goes pop and there's this giant explosion and out goes the universe, right? Goes sailing out there. And the theory being, everything goes flying and then slows down, and then ultimately it will stop and then start coming back as the gravitational mass attracts it, whatever it is. And it'll all go back to its original place, then go pop again or something. That's the theory, that is the theory. Surprise, surprise. Reality is that the galaxies not only are moving out forward, they're speeding up. Now, what is causing that force? Got to come up with another science for that one. Not only that, the science says galaxies like ours, our Milky Way and everything, you'll notice when you see pictures, they look kind of spirally because they're spinning, right?
Several decades ago, we found a problem so great that it was brushed under the carpet for many a decade. And this is the fact that galaxies spin too fast. We believe in the work of Isaac Newton, at least on planetary scales, but when you apply Newton's laws of motion to the galaxy spins too fast. In fact, 10 times too fast. By rights, the galaxy should fly apart. Therefore, scientists said, that we have to have dark matter, a halo of matter that surrounds the galaxy and holds the galaxy together.
You got to create a science so that so that all the stars don't just go flying off, that these galaxies stay together. So, theory, dark matter. Heard of dark matter? Well, dark matter, you can't see it, you can't measure it, but it's got to be there. Why? Because otherwise these galaxies would be flying apart. So you create a science called dark matter that is 97 to 99% of everything out there has to be dark matter that you can't see, you can't smell it, you can't touch it, you can't measure it, but it's really dark and it matters. Okay, so you got that going on out there. Time passes. So these cosmology types had gathered together doing each other's hair and makeup. And they discovered something. They discovered there is a place in space where the science actually works. The science works where you don't need dark matter. You don't need dark energy. You don't need any of that dark stuff. It doesn't matter. There's actually a place in science where the science operates just fine. Here's what you have to do, though. Get rid of your dark matter and get rid of your Copernicus. You know, Mr. Earth's going around the sun guy? Yeah, throw that science out, too. Really? Yeah, throw it out. Gone? Okay. Now then, when you get rid of Mr. Copernicus and you get rid of dark matter, there is a place in space that would appear to indeed be the center of the universe, where everything seems to be flying away from it. As a matter of fact, not only does the science work without the dark energy, they also find that you can actually see kind of how galaxies were formed and how they kind of hang out with each other in a kind of a circle. Kind of think somebody's puffing and blowing smoke rings, where you kind of get those rings of galaxies that are out there certain distances and such. So they can see it. They can see these rings are kind of have been pushed out, if you will, from this place that just may be the center of the universe, and all the science works. You don't need dark energy, dark matter, none of that stuff. You don't need it. And all you have to do is throw out Copernicus. And that place out there, that centerpiece, when cosmologists look at it, some of them go, whoa, really? Huh? Because that place out in space where all the science works, if that's the center point that doesn't move, is here. Earth.
Recently, some theorists have proposed that the need for dark energy can be dispensed with if we dispense with the Copernican principle itself.
There's an important point here, because if you then said, okay, let's stop here for a minute and let's suppose dark energy doesn't exist. Now, the raw data is correct. It's what we observe. But let's just change the model a bit. Let's say, okay, let's suppose for a minute that the universe is not homogeneous.
Or, to put it another way, let's suppose the universe does not follow the Copernican principle after all.
Let's see if we can fit exactly the same data with no dark energy. And the answer is yes, you can.
If we assume that Earth is in a special position, near the center of a local void, we can account for all observations without the necessity of dark energy.
And so I'm looking at this going, this is nuts. And these are brilliant people. I'm a dummy. These are brilliant people who are coming to this conclusion. Others just don't want to hear it, because if you put Earth at the center of the universe, who put it there? Well, now you have a pretty big someone putting us somewhere pretty special right in the middle where everything is going around us. A big somebody had to have done that. All of a sudden now there's got to be a creator, because that's impossible. With all the hundreds of billions and quadrillions, Earth, us, here, whoa, that would require intelligence. I mean, think about it. What if indeed we're right here at the center? So I was giving a talk, and I'm in a Catholic church, so I'm taking this a little farther here, because I've got the Eucharist on the altar there. The monstrance is there. That's Jesus. At the consecration, that became Jesus. That's not just a symbol. That's the body and blood of Jesus Christ. We believe that by faith, and the science of these Eucharistic miracles say so too. So I'm kind of talking to Jesus over there, and I'm also talking to those in front of me. And I'm taking this concept to them, which is brand new. I just watched the video, so.
These are astronomers arguing with each other kind of on this video, giving their own 2 cents worth about what it might mean. There's one astronomer who says, this has me rethinking things. Because picture this. What if? What if this really is true? I don't know if it is, but it's stunning. You got a lot of astronomers saying that there is now a cosmologist crisis, a cosmology crisis, because when you look at this science and everything adding up, and that here, then look what you've got. Now you've got him. He, Jesus Christ, who came to earth, this Jesus Christ who actually splits time, doesn't he? There's before Christ and there's the year of our Lord. He splits time. And if you go into the Bible, then you open up this Bible and let's go to his biggest bunch of lessons. Where would that be? Oh yeah, Sermon on the Mount. Let's go to the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew, chapters 5, 6, and 7. Matthew wrote in what's called a chiasm. What's a chiasm? Well, when you wrote back then, you didn't write to highlight something. You didn't put it in bold. You didn't put it in italics. You put it in the middle. If something was really, really, really important, you stuck it in the middle of what you were writing. 5, 6, and 7. Sermon on the Mount. Smack dab in the middle of all of that is the Lord's Prayer. Our Father. Say it with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Stop. Right smack dab in the middle of the Lord's Prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. Only when St. Jerome wrote it, he didn't write it that way. He wrote it, give us this day our super substantial bread. Him.
Oh, and so you understand the St. Jerome reference that he was the one put in charge of writing the first Bible in Latin. He was taking the Hebrew, he was taking the Greek, and he was writing it into the Latin, and that's when he wrote super substantial bread.
Jesus. Him. Which means if Earth is the center of the entire universe, if that's true, if that theory happens to be true, not saying it is, but there's some astronomers out there going, if this is the center of it all, and we come down into the Bible, the Word of God, and right there in the center of all those great teachings, the Sermon on the Mount, takes us to right here. This right here is the actual center of the universe right now. This is here. Him, our super substantial bread. Him is standing in the center of the universe. And there he is in the middle of all of it. And we've got 83% of Catholics not coming to Mass. Why? Nothing happens here. Everything happens here. It's the middle of everything. The science is on our side.
And at the end of the talk, as Father Steve closed out with benediction, and he's praying to Jesus, the host there, and he's incorporating different elements of the talk, including you, center of the universe, Jesus. I mean, he just incorporated it all because it is so amazing. If, we'll just say if. What do we call this title? What if? Now that would be a touched by heaven moment, yeah? That would be God speak. That would be God speaking to you, me, the church, and the world who's in charge here. So I'm going to put a couple of videos in the show notes and see if you can understand more of it than I. And you can see, I can't see, so I can't see the graphics, but I kind of understand what they're throwing up on the screen a little bit. But it's crazy deep science and cosmology and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. All right, coming up, Matt and Veronica, they have a dream. It sounds prophetic, and we can talk about what it might mean. But we'll get to that in a second here. Quick Patreon shout out. Way to go, Jack Sullivan. Thanks for being with the family. Jack went with us to Medjugorje, too. Good guy, Jack. And thank you so much for supporting us on a monthly basis to keep this moving along. We need your stories. Yes, we need your financial support, and we appreciate it so much. Go to this episode at touchedbyheaven.net or go to patreon.com and search for Trapper Jack. All right. By the way, by this time next week, the Eucharistic Talk, which is again called A Challenging Truth to Swallow, will be available. And we're moving the store, if you will, to Patreon. You don't have to be a Patreon member to download the CD. But there's going to be very easy access. We're just going to move it there, make things much, much simpler. And they're just great. They've been really good for us and to us and all that. So that's where you'll be able to find the Eucharistic Talk as of this time next week, as we post this at patreon.com. All right. Now let's get to Matt and Veronica.
Can you hear me?
Test, test.
All right. Oh, that's super loud now. I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Well, hi, guys. How you doing?
Very good.
Good. How are you?
It's great. Great to finally connect with you. Where do you guys live?
We live in Ave Maria, Florida.
Oh, man, you're in Catholic land.
That is Catholic land down here. Yes. That's why we moved here.
Yeah. The community is basically built around Catholicism, is it not?
It is, yes. There are a lot of non-Catholics in town, but it was originally founded as a Catholic town by Tom Monahan, who was the founder of Domino's Pizza.
Right, right.
I think he gave the commencement speech last year or the year before, and it was the shortest commencement speech I think they'd ever had at any university.
What was it, 2 minutes?
It was probably less than that. It was the graduation address, and he said, "Go to mass, go to confession, and if you haven't learned this in 4 years, you've wasted your time." And I think that was pretty much it.
A guy in the fast food pizza business, he knows. There you go.
That right, at 30 minutes or less. Yeah.
Just here's your cheese pizza. Have a nice day. Here you go. Here are the basics.
Yes.
A little bit about your background. We'll get to you in a second here, Veronica. But for you, Matt, what's the background growing up?
I grew up in Chicago in high school, and this ties into my wife. I had an exchange student who was from Spain. He lived with me for a year. His name was Anders. He was like a brother to me. And when I graduated from high school, I went to Spain and I taught Spanish at a summer camp in Spain. Anders' sister is my wife, Veronica.
Yeah, grew up in Spain. My mom and dad from Sweden and Norway, and I met Matt, and I came here.
How many years you been married? What are you up to?
21.
All right, congratulations. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
And well, this particular story we're going to hear about has to do with a dream and everything. Had you had any experience prior to this? Anything like this?
No. And it was just a dream. So Matt started telling my dream to a lot of people.
She doesn't think it was an amazing dream.
Well, it was an amazing dream. I was very, very excited when I woke up. But anyway, I never really gave so much. I mean, it was something, that happened in my dream, and it was beautiful. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, but you remembered everything, and you remembered like details in the dream, and you never remember your dreams if you have a dream.
Yeah, I mean, there's more things, but I remember the important parts. Yeah,
maybe more like a vision than a dream.
Right. I mean, it could be. Yeah. No, it was beautiful for sure. I woke up.
How long ago was this?
Like 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Oh,
a week.
that recent.
I remember it was a Thursday.
And if you want to go through it here, we might stop you along the way just because, just to look for whatever symbolism, because dreams do mean things, and yours obviously had a lot in it.
Okay.
And you can get as close to the microphone as you want. I don't know how close you are. Are you on a laptop or a desktop or what are you on?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's
right
even
now?
better. That's even better.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, the dream started that I remember. It was a big, massive tornado. It was in the distance, huge tornado with fire too, that it was coming closer and closer. And it was pretty scary. And we could feel it in the house. The house was starting to tremble. And we could feel the wind, the sound, pieces of the house coming out. I just remember there was more people in the house, and we were all pretty scared. And this young girl, I knew for some reason that she was holy. I don't know if she was going to become a nun or what it was, but she was very faithful. And suddenly it was getting to the point where things in the ceiling were starting to fly off. There was pieces of wood, there was, stuff. And then this girl, kind of her arm reached to the ceiling, but I mean, it was like really, really high ceilings. It was more like a barn at the end. I mean, beginning seemed like a house, but it was so big, the house, that it almost seemed like, like a barn. And then this girl start stretching her arm, and then I could see a shadow of the Virgin Mary with the baby Jesus, just like the head of both with a crown, and then she stretched, her arm was stretching, and then she kind of reached and bring it down.
Okay, so your this house barn was kind of surrounded by this tornado, and there's a shadow above, and somehow in the midst, still inside the barn, this holy girl reaches up. She sees, and you see Mary and the baby Jesus.
Yes.
And she
Yes.
begins bringing them down.
Yeah, so she brings them down, and then I see her suddenly running really fast around this big building. There was a big wire, kind of like a cable, that it was, with all the things, kind of like the house was kind of falling apart. So there's this thick wire cable where she grabs it and she starts going around this building. And then I could see it was a statue of the Virgin Mary with the baby Jesus, and it was very big. She was standing up, and then in the side she was, kind of like going around and around, and she was holding the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, and then she stopped and said, "Everything is going to be okay. We have the Virgin Mary with us." So anyway, we were a little bit doubtful, but we had some hopes. And then I could see the tornado through the windows. I mean, the house was kind of broken up. I mean, so you could start seeing more the outside. And then you can see the tornado just going super close to us, but just passing by. And everybody was just, crying, laughing. I mean, everybody was so relieved. We were so happy. But I just remember people were very grateful to Our Lady and baby Jesus. And there was like a little house, wooden house, where that same statue of Our Lady was smaller. And we put her there. We gave her some flowers.
Hyacinths.
Yeah, we put them in this little house with the Virgin Mary and kind of saying thank you so much. We were so happy. I don't know why I wanted to peek in this little house. So I opened the doors and I saw the statue. It was still a statue, but she was like alive. And she was looking at me, watering those flowers that we put there and smiling. So, and then I woke up. It was 1 minute before the alarm was supposed to go off.
Wow, making sure that you remembered all of it. Because I find sometimes if there is a message in it, if God really wants you to know something, he'll wake you up right afterwards. So it's a little more vivid
really?
too,
Oh.
So when you start, interpreting this dream, what do you walk away with?
So I wasn't when I woke up, I remember I was so excited that the Virgin Mary let me see her kind of alive, and she was looking at me and smiling. I mean, to me, that was the happiest moment, I know it was a dream, but it was very exciting. So that was all I thought. But then I told my husband my story, and then he was kind of seeing a lot of meanings, which I really didn't see. I didn't think about it either.
Before we get to that, then let's talk about your relationship with Mary and Jesus. What does she mean to you?
Of course, they mean a lot, but I still don't feel like I'm super close. I wish I was. I try to pray the rosary, I try to go to church. I try to do my prayer every morning, but I still feel like I'm very far away to being close to them. I wish, maybe this helps me to start, think more of her, because I remember in my dream, I just felt like I always, I tried to go to Mary, but it's always in a cold way. I sometimes feel like I really don't truly believe how real she is, and I think I still need a lot to improve.
So this could be your encounter moment then. This could be that encounter moment that leads to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had that as well, where she was there but not real close, and now she's right here. She's right here. But it took a few encounter moments for me to realize how much she loves me, how much she loves us all, how she sees us all as her children, literally like she had given birth to all of us. I mean, you hear that over and over again by people who have had encounters with her, how she will say to them, tell everybody, it's like I gave birth to you. It's like that's how close we are, that she's our mom, our heavenly mom. And of course, she brings Jesus to us as she did in your dream. What about Jesus? Infant Jesus, grown-up Jesus. I mean, it sounds like Talladega Nights, the movie. Which Jesus do you like? But in terms of your relationship with Jesus, tell me about that.
Well, same thing. I wish I was much, much closer. I mean, I feel like I need to improve a lot. I try, every morning. That's why I wake up at 6, to have some prayer time. But the same, I think it's still, I know that he's there. I know that he listens, but it's still not as strong as I wish it was.
Do you talk to them?
Well, I use the book Conversation with God, and it's a meditation of the readings and everything every day. So that's what I use. So there's 3 parts of that meditation. So I read the first part, and then I meditate. I try to talk to Jesus and see what kind of a conversation, or the things that I struggle, or kind of like, I like to have a conversation. I like to treat him as a friend.
That's the way he wants it. That's exactly what he wants. Yeah. I like one of the things he said to a Benedictine monk was, he says, too many of you approach me as if I'm an ideal. You can't approach an ideal. I'm not an ideal. Your perfection is the fruit of my divine friendship. Your perfection, the closer we get to God, your perfection is the fruit of my divine friendship. And to have that friendship, obviously we need to spend time with him. You can't love someone you don't know. And so you're spending time with the Word, which is great, Scripture, and then inviting him into that and conversation. So I'd say you're doing it right. You're doing it right. We all want to get closer. So Matt, she tells you the dream and you start analyzing it. How? What do you start seeing?
Oh, when she told me, because this was hours later, I think that we had gone to Mass, because they have Mass every morning at the school. And she told me about this dream, and I was just amazed. The fire tornado coming. We live in a very uncertain world right now. And many people that I speak to, and people who aren't Christians, feel like we're on the brink of something, on the precipice of something, that there are momentous things that are going to happen here ahead of us. And we don't know what they are, but people have this feeling like there's something that's going to happen. It's like that fire tornado. And sometimes in life, we just feel like we are not going to get by this. This is going to destroy us. It's going to take us down. And as she said in her dream, I mean, fire being all consuming, and, water and fire, right? Noah's Ark, the world being destroyed by water, and then the world being destroyed by fire. And the pieces of this house are flying off. It's being destroyed. There's holes. You can see the outside. And you think there's no way that we're going to get past this. It's going to destroy us. And yet in this moment of absolute certainty of destruction comes hope. And there's the Blessed Virgin Mary in the midst of this smoke. She's seen there. And this young girl in the barn kind of represents the church of Jesus, the church of Christ, the Catholic Church, in my opinion, in this case, especially because of the Blessed Virgin Mary. But this young girl who is, and again, Veronica had this impression. It was made known to her. And so often in the Bible, we have somebody where something is made known to them, or with saints, there is something that's made known to them with afterlife experiences I've read many times. They are infused with knowledge, but it is made known to her that there's this young girl there who is holy, she's pious, and she is thinking about becoming a nun, or she's going to become a nun. And this girl reaches out into that smoke, brings down the Blessed Virgin Mary from the chaos, from this destruction. She ties this Blessed Virgin Mary to this home, the Church of Christ, with cables. And with our prayers and our supplications and our fasting, our penitence, that's what we do. We tie the protection of the Blessed Virgin Mary to us with cables of steel that are unbreakable bonds. And these cables of steel protect us from the destruction in the outside, the evil. Fire, representing hell sometimes too, the very, fires of hell. And this girl with certainty says, don't worry, the Blessed Virgin Mary will protect us. And as my wife said in the dream, she was uncertain. She's like, I don't see how we're going to survive this. It's not like she had certainty that, oh, yeah, we're going to make it through this, and the other people there too. And all of a sudden, as you're looking out of this half destroyed, half ruined building, again, representing the church, this tornado goes by. It passes them by. The Blessed Virgin Mary wards off that destruction, and she saves us, which is bringing us to Jesus, her son Jesus. So, and here they are, they're laughing, they're crying, they're so relieved over having escaped this destruction. I mean, and that's how many times have we heard stories about people that's their reaction when they've survived or they've managed to get by some imminent destructive danger. People laugh, they cry, they have those reactions. So, and then finally, the thanks that we have, the gratitude, that we have, we want to say thank you to the Blessed Virgin Mary for having protected us. And many of us have statues of the Blessed Virgin Mary in our house, and we will bring flowers to her, to honor her. And this group of people, in gratitude, so this little house that they have there, they have this statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and they put it in this house to honor her. She said it was about, she's showing how big the house was. It was about 2 feet by about 2.5 feet high, with wooden doors in the front there, and kind of like a steeple type of a top to it. And to honor her and to thank her, they put this statue in there. And then she had said that they were purple flowers. I know she had mentioned this when she was talking, but purple is the color of penitence. And they bring purple flowers, and they're hyacinths, because she described the flowers. She said there are these flowers kind of pointed in the top with little flowers in the outside. And we put these in there to say thank you to the Blessed Virgin Mary and to honor her. And, then she comes back and she opens up the doors because she wants to see the Blessed Virgin Mary. And there she is watering the flowers. And that had significance to me too. And she's smiling at my wife because she is so happy when we bring flowers to her. That's penitence and the prayers that we bring before her. Bringing flowers to the Blessed Virgin Mary is a sacrifice. And when we make sacrifices, we are repentant, we make penance, we fast. And again, that's the color purple. The Blessed Virgin Mary waters those prayers, and she brings those prayers alive before Jesus. And it makes her so happy, and she's so grateful, and she loves us for that. So, and then of course, my wife, the last thing is that my wife says she's alive. The Blessed Virgin Mary is a living human person, a living human being. And we tend to forget that. We tend to put Jesus and Mary up on this throne sometimes and think of, Jesus is God, which he is, but Jesus is also human. And the Blessed Virgin Mary and Jesus are both human beings, having gone through everything that we have gone through, especially as a mother. You think about a mother's heart, how much she loves her children. And I see this with my wife, how much she loves her children, and how much a mother's heart suffers to see her children suffer. But also how happy a mother's heart is when her children are trying to follow Jesus. But the last thing is that day in church, the reading in the gospel was when Jesus says, put out into deep waters. And St. Hyacinth, when he became a priest, that was his motto, along with John Paul II. It was put out into the deep.
Wow.
So anyway, that's what got me so excited about that dream, was all those different things that I saw. To me, it was amazing.
How fitting you live in Ave Maria.
It is. And there are people here that really believe that, and us too, that there is a protection around this town brought here by the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Oh, I have no doubt. So when it's a fabulous dream, and I concur with a lot of what you said. I might slip a little left or right on certain things, but I think overall, I think the protection is there. I think for this country, I think for communities, I think wherever believers are found. You say the barn as the church. I see the barn really more as believers, all of us. But Mary's there for all of us. So that's all beautiful. So I see the storms of life. I see the storms coming. I see the war storms. I see the fires. I see all the stuff that you're seeing also. I see the protection when we go to her. I see that she's always with Jesus, always. She brings us him. Yep. He brings us her. Yep. The little girl I find really intriguing. I find it intriguing of who she is, what she represents, the fact that her arms could extend up into the heavens, if you will, to bring Mary and Jesus down. I don't have a clear answer for that one, because her arms kept getting extended, get longer and longer to go up there and bring her.
My wife just said it looked like an elastic girl.
She was a teenager.
She was a teenager. My wife's saying she's not a little girl. So,
do you remember there being a particular feast day that day of a particular saint or anything?
I don't.
No.
I'm just wondering. So that would have been September 5th, if you want to check sometime along the way, just to see who else.
Yeah, it must have been the 5th, which is our anniversary, by the way.
Yeah, it was our anniversary.
Well, there's that too. Who knows? Who knows? There's all this tumultuous in the midst of the storm. There they are, offering us peace.
Yeah.
So
I hope this story can bring. I told my wife that. I said I think this story is important because it could bring hope to people. And that, Jesus and Mary are real. They are human beings. They understand our problems and they want to help us and they love us. And this storm or this story, so many people are in the storms of life right now and in the future. But please know that Jesus and Mary are there and we need to bind them to us and we need to believe and have hope and faith that they will be there and they will save us from whatever storm there is approaching us in life.
The Virgin Mary really is, our mother, and that's how I felt. And she smiles, she laughs, she cries, and she's like our mother, on earth, that she really cares about every little thing, that we go through, and she will be always there for, with us, for us. And, we're very lucky. We're very lucky to have her.
Beautiful. How did you guys find the podcast?
Well, I was in Chicago about a week and a half ago, and cousin Canute was in from California, and my cousin Canute is an aspiring actor out there, and he drives Uber, and he listens to you, and he listens to his podcast when he's driving Uber, and so I don't know how it came up, but they were talking about some dream or something like that. But I said, I told this story just like we told you here. And my cousin Canute was really moved by it. And he said, that's amazing. He said, you gotta write Trapper Jack. You got to tell Trapper Jack about this. And I said, who's Trapper Jack? And he said, he's got a podcast. So that's how I found out about you.
Well, thanks, Canute. Appreciate it. For those wondering how to pronounce Canute Rockney's name, now you know it's Canute and not Newt. Okay.
That's right.
So this was awesome. Yes, this definitely fits into the framework of what we do here. Absolutely. Because God does speak to all of us in so many different ways, and certainly through dreams. Certainly.
May God bless you. May God bless all of your listeners, and may God bless your work, Trapper Jack.
Thank you. He does. He does. Thank you. You're talking about the storms in people's lives, and we kind of did that episode last week, that drowning episode, because all of us are drowning in some way. But this fiery tornado thing has me kind of thinking a bit about upcoming events. I'm reading a book right now that reminds me of some prophecies that were made and what may be bubbling up. So we may open that door next week. We'll see how that goes, but Thank you so much for being with us, Matt and Veronica. Kind of a different episode this time with fiery tornadoes and, of course, Earth in the center of the universe. What if? What if? All right. See you next week. Got a story for me? Let me know. And thanks for the Patreon help. There's my reminders. And I'll see you next week here at Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.
All right. Oh, that's super loud now. I'm going to turn it down a little bit.